They were playing dead over and over. Eyes opened, then closed, sitting straight up, then lying down, not making physical contact, then in a tender embrace. It was Michael Dorman and Sarah Jones' last day of filming, working toward the climactic reveal of For All Mankind's second season. Their characters, astronauts, and ex-spouses, Gordo and Tracy, had met their demise on the moon at the very moment they fell back in love. The final image had to be just right, so they tried every pose they could think of. That shot needed to be very beautiful, says director Sergio Mimikagezin. I had this image of Pompeii when Vesuvius exploded. They found people who were hugging in corners, in petrified shapes. This is the way of For All Mankind, big gestures and bigger symbolism. Apple TV Plus's space drama took a huge leap in its sophomore run, building on its initial alternate history premise, that the Soviet Union landed on the moon first, and the space race never ended, with a fresh take on the Reagan era. Unfurled on scales both intimate and epic, the narrative brought the US and the Soviet Union to the brink of war, in outer space, before ending on a note of bittersweet optimism in the spectacular Season 2 finale. Key to the episode's power is Gordo and Tracy's act of great sacrifice. The US has established an actual nuclear reactor on the moon, and risks total meltdown after a Soviet invasion of the US's Jamestown base descends into mass gunfire. After Gordo and Tracy rekindle their romance in an isolated corner of Jamestown, they learn of the impending catastrophe from NASA in Houston, and they're the only ones who can avert it, on a life-endangering walk across the moon. They're 25 meters from cable switches that would allow them to save the day, but trapped inside an airlock, they do not have spacesuits, even though the distance to the switches is seemingly short. The severe atmospheric conditions mean a risk of death. It's more than 200 degrees Fahrenheit on the moon. Specifically, they have roughly 14 seconds to complete the mission before it's too late. Gordo says he'll do it alone, but Tracy insists on going with him. A second hand gives him a better chance of survival, the world a better chance at seeing another day, and their partnership a true, eternal affirmation. After all, as the season starts, Gordo is an out-of-shape single dad who hasn't gone to the moon since his first trip a decade ago, which led to a mental breakdown. Tracy is remarried and trading her astronaut credentials in for cheap celebrity. But Gordo knew his return to space, overlapping with Tracy's separate, earlier, publicity-fueled mission, would present the chance to win her back. He got himself fit. As he tells Tracy, acknowledging he's healthy enough to embark on the treacherous walk, I started jogging again. Creators Ronald D. Moore, Matt Wolpert, and Ben Nedeve wrestled with whether to kill off merely one half of the beloved couple, let alone both, until they realized the joint fate was too poetic to ignore. It then fell on the director to execute. I was thinking about them almost as Greek mythic characters, the people who go up and make the ultimate sacrifice. Mimikagezin says, Jones and Dorman were shocked to hear their journey was coming to an end, but ultimately accepted its significance. It was perfect for these two to go through this crazy journey of self-discovery, Dorman says. It was poetic to me, the way actually they do find their peace out there in the middle of nowhere. Pretty wild, but I found it was just right. Accordingly, says Mimikagezin, it was a very emotional shoot. Under NASA's guidance, Gordo and Tracy fit each other in makeshift duct tape suits for a base layer of protection. Michael and I wanted to just enjoy and savor the last moments as much as we could, Jones says. Their rapport, developed over 2 seasons, lends these first moments real intimacy and humor. I knew that when I was playing with her, something good would come of that, Dorman says. As scripted, Tracy tells Gordo he looks ridiculous, then Gordo cracks that she should look in the mirror. From there, Jones improvised to keep the banter going. Are you kidding? I make this suit sing. It just sort of came out of my mouth, Jones remembers. You might think you're in the zone and it's completely wrong. But as you get more comfortable with the character, it's a little easier to find your groove. What they say, how they say it. Over the course of the walk, the suits deteriorate as realistically as possible, a consistent mandate for the show, even as it depicts advances in space technology that our real-world timeline has yet to figure out. Every few shots, We'd have to change the suits to mark how rapidly they disintegrated, says Mimic Agezin. This meant frequent quick change collaborations between him, the actors, and the costume